I never used to believe in small-town ghost stories. Every place has them. The haunted house, the phantom hitchhiker, the old road where people vanish. But they always felt like stories someone made up to give a boring place a little excitement. At least, that's what I thought, before my last shift at Station 23. It was a graveyard gig, midnight to 6 a.m., a gas station out in the middle of nowhere, off a long stretch of highway, barely used anymore. The kind of place that smells like stale coffee and rubber hoses. Quiet. Too quiet most nights. I took the job out of desperation. Recent divorce, drowning in bills, and I needed something that gave me enough daylight to catch court dates and pick up my daughter on weekends. Seemed harmless enough. Just sit behind a counter, scan a few Red Bulls, maybe mop up a spill or two. But something always felt off. The nights were too still. Even the bugs didn't make noise after midnight. I brushed it off until I started hearing tapping. Just after 3 a.m. A faint, rhythmic tapping on the front glass windows. Always 3 taps. Tap, tap, tap. Every time I looked outside, there was no one there. Not a car, not a person. Just the long, empty road and the buzz of the overhead lights flickering against the asphalt. A week into the job, I got curious about the guy who worked the night shift before me, Tommy. All I knew was that he quit suddenly. No notice. Manager said he went off the grid, whatever that means. One night I was restocking the backroom shelves when I noticed his locker was still padlocked. Curiosity got the better of me. I used a wrench to pry it open, thinking maybe he left snacks or smokes or something. Inside, there was only one thing, an unlabeled VHS tape in a plain black sleeve. Dusty, unmarked. I took it into the break room where we had one of those ancient combo TV VCR setups, plugged it in, static. Then, grainy black and white footage from the station's outdoor security camera. The time code blinked 3:17 a.m. In the far corner of the frame, barely visible, stood a figure. Still, motionless, wearing what looked like a hood or cloak, just standing there, watching the building. Never moved, never approached. Then, the lights on the screen flickered once, and he vanished, gone like a glitch. I rewound the tape 3 times. Same thing every time. Exactly 3:17 a.m. That was the first time I started feeling watched. I couldn't stop thinking about the tape. The next night, I sat behind the counter, eyes locked on the monitor. It was a little past 3 a.m. The clock ticked slow. My head throbbed with this weird, pulsing headache, like pressure was building behind my eyes. Then it hit 3:17. The screen flickered, static for a split second, and there he was, the same figure, standing in the exact spot as the footage. I stood so fast my stool clattered backward. I ran to the front door, flung it open, and stepped out into the cool desert air. He was gone. But the dust on the concrete told a different story. There were bare footprints facing the store. Deep. Too clear to be old. No tracks leading in, no tracks leaving. That night I couldn't sleep. When I closed my eyes, I saw the figure behind my eyelids. Still, watching, waiting. Things got worse, fast. The headaches came every night now, right around 3 a.m. Sharp, buzzing pain behind my temples. The lights in the cooler would flicker without cause. I started hearing things, whispers when I was alone. The air inside felt heavy, like trying to breathe underwater. Then came the mirror. I was washing my face in the back bathroom when I saw him standing behind me in the mirror. Pale, faceless, cloaked in something that looked wet and rotten. I spun around. Nothing. But when I turned back, the mirror was cracked. Later that shift, a drifter came in, covered in dust, bought a coffee and stared at me way too long before saying, "You shouldn't be here after 3. That's when he comes, the Hollow Man." He told me the story. Back in the 60s, during highway expansion, a construction worker got buried alive under wet concrete behind the station. They never recovered the body. Since then, workers at that site started going mad, seeing things, hearing voices, quitting out of nowhere. Some didn't make it out at all. The Hollow Man, they called him, a spirit bound to those dead hours, 3 to 4 a.m., dragging people into his silence. I should have quit. I knew that. But something about that place felt like it had its claws in me. Like if I left, it would follow me. So I came back one last time. I brought a flashlight, a Bible, and a string of salt. It sounds stupid, I know. But I was out of options. The night crawled by, empty, still. Then the power went out at 3:17 a.m. Total silence. No buzz, no hum. Just the sound of my own breathing. And then, footsteps. Inside. Software. Wet. He was in the store. I hid behind the counter, phone recording in my shaking hand. A shadow passed by the candy aisle. He was tall. His skin was cracked like dried mud, mouth stretched into a silent scream. No eyes, no nose, just emptiness. He didn't speak, but I heard his voice inside my head. "You took his hours, now you keep them." I passed out. When I woke up, the clock said 4:12 a.m. The lights were back on, coffee machines humming, everything normal, except for the black handprints burned into my arms. I never went back. I tried to show the tape, but it was gone. No one believed me. Even now, sometimes at night, I'll wake up at exactly 3:17 a.m. and feel him watching. So if you ever find yourself on the night shift and the air turns cold around 3, don't look outside, don't play the tapes, and whatever you do, don't let him in. I took the night shift because it paid more. That was the only reason. I didn't believe in ghosts. I wasn't afraid of the dark. I just needed the money. St. Camilla's Hospital wasn't exactly glamorous. It sat on the edge of a fading Midwestern town, surrounded by cracked roads and flickering street lamps, the kind of place where the past feels sticky and stubborn, clinging to everything. I was hired as an orderly, graveyard shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Most nights it was just me, a few half-awake nurses, and whatever patients were unlucky enough to be in the ER overnight. The upper floors of the hospital were mostly unused. Budget cuts had closed the pediatric and psych wards. The lights stayed off. The elevator didn't stop there unless you had a keycard. Still, every now and then, I'd get assigned to clean something up there. Restock, empty a bin, mop a spill. It was during one of those quiet nights that I heard it for the first time. A lullaby. Soft, distant, like it was coming from behind several closed doors. It floated down the darkened hallway of the pediatric wing, even though the doors were chained shut and bolted with rusted locks. It was the kind of sound that raises the hairs on your arms. Not because it's loud or scary, but because it shouldn't be there. I stared at the door for a long time that night. The song faded eventually, but something lingered. I didn't go near that hallway again, until I had no choice. 2 nights later, Nurse Sheila handed me the keyring and asked me to restock linens on the 4th floor. I froze. 4th floor? I asked. Isn't that? She cut me off. Just do it fast. Don't talk to anyone. It was meant as a joke, but the way she said it didn't sound like one. Room 408 was at the end of the hall, supposed to be empty. The hallway lights buzzed overhead like dying insects. I wheeled my cart down, trying not to look at the rooms on either side. All were dark, closed. As I passed 408, I heard crying. I stopped, listened. A child's sob, muffled by a pillow or blanket, choked and desperate. I opened the door. No one was inside. The bed was made, the lights were off, the windows sealed. But the room was cold, not AC cold, but cold like something hollowed the air out. I felt it in my teeth. On the far wall, taped to the wallpaper, was a child's drawing. A stick figure under a rain cloud. Red crayon scribbles formed a sentence underneath. No one listens to her. She listens back. I shut the door and left without looking back. That was the first night I didn't sleep after my shift. And it wasn't the last. I tried telling Sheila about room 408. She shrugged, said, "You'll get used to it." Used to what? She didn't explain, just sipped her coffee and changed the subject. So I started recording audio on my phone during shifts, just to prove I wasn't imagining things, that something was off in that building. One night, I left the recorder on the floor outside room 408 while I cleaned the supply closet. When I played it back on my break, my stomach dropped. It started with static, then whispers, layered, like a dozen voices whispering at once, overlapping, repeating, "He shouldn't be here. He knows, he knows, he knows." I played it twice, then again with headphones. Each time, the voices felt closer, more insistent. When I showed it to Sheila, she turned pale, took the phone from me and deleted the file herself. Then she grabbed my arm, hard. "You didn't hear anything, understand?" She walked away and requested to be moved to day shifts 2 days later. That night, I passed the pediatrics hallway again. The chains on the doors rattled as I walked by. Then a child's voice, soft and unmistakable. "Jonah, why won't you come play?" Everything got worse after that. I started having dreams. Not nightmares, just dreams of that same hallway. Always at night. Always the same lullaby playing. And a girl in a hospital gown standing at the end, her face blurred out like a smeared photo. Every time I woke up, my phone would be recording. Hours of silence, except for breathing and what sounded like soft giggling. One night, all the TVs on the second floor turned on at the same time. Static. All of them, except one. It played a black and white video of a hospital bed rocking gently, empty, but moving on its own. I had enough. I cornered the other night nurse, Rob, during his smoke break and demanded answers. He looked like hell, pale, sweating, like someone who hadn't slept right in years. He told me the story. In the 1990s, a girl named Eloise was brought into St. Camillus. Terminal leukemia. No parents. Lived on the pediatric floor for months until she died during a winter blackout. She was alone in room 408 when the machines failed. They found her in the dark, clutching a drawing. The same one I saw. Same handwriting. She used to whisper to people. Knew things she shouldn't have. Other patients started having seizures. Staff quit. And then it stopped until the hospital shut that floor down. But she never left, Rob told me. She listens, and if she says your name... He trailed off. "What?" I asked. He looked at me, and with a whisper, "It means she's already inside." I came in for one final shift. I told myself I needed the money, but really, I needed closure. I brought salt, a crucifix, Bible verses printed out and stuffed into my pockets like armor. At 3:04 a.m., I took the bolt cutters and broke the chains on the pediatric hallway. The hallway was still. No lights, no sound. Room 408's door was cracked open. Inside, the air was thick and hot, like standing too close to a fire that wasn't there. On the bed was a small journal with a red velvet cover. I opened it. The first page said, "You heard me." So now I won't stop. The pages began flipping on their own. Fast! Faster! Then, violently, the air shook with whispers, hundreds of them, like a crowd screaming just out of sight. Then silence. Dead silence. I dropped the journal and ran. The hallway behind me felt alive, shifting and breathing. The walls groaned. When I got outside, the sun was just beginning to rise. I never looked back. I quit that night, but the whispers never stopped. Sometimes, when my phone glitches at night, I hear her say my name. Jonah. If you ever work a night shift in a hospital and someone calls to you from an empty room, don't answer. And whatever you do, don't listen back. I used to think the scariest thing about working night security was boredom. My job was simple: monitor a bank of CCTV screens in a massive office building that housed a dozen tech startups. Every night from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I sat in a concrete room with 2 vending machines, a space heater, and 48 camera feeds blinking across the monitors. I didn't carry a gun, didn't even leave the room unless something looked off, and nothing ever did until last Thursday. It was around 2:40 a.m. when camera 42, covering the basement server room, flickered, glitched, and turned black for exactly 6 seconds. When it came back, someone was standing in front of it. Pale face, no ID badge, just standing there. They didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at the camera. I radioed maintenance. They checked the room. No one inside, no signs of entry. I reviewed the footage. The figure wasn't on the recording. It was only visible in the live feed. I played it over and over. Same thing. At 2:40 a.m., static hits the screen, the feed returns, and the basement is empty. Nothing unusual, but I saw it. I know what I saw. That night, the motion sensors started acting up. Random blips in places no one had access to. Conference room D, the women's locker room, a sealed-off office on floor 3B. At 3:17 a.m., camera 42 glitched again. This time, there were 2 figures standing in front of the lens, still, silent, staring directly at me like they could see through the monitor. Again, nothing recorded. I didn't sleep that morning. Just sat in my apartment, staring at my powered-off TV screen, half expecting it to flicker back on by itself. My phone rang at 4:12 a.m., an unlisted number. When I answered, there was just breathing. Then a metallic whisper. "Keep watching." Then the call dropped. I brought a flash drive the next night and started copying every live glitch I could. Around 3 a.m., something changed. The live feed started looping. First just a few seconds, then longer. One monitor showed a chair tipping over in real time, over and over. Another showed a woman walking into the break room, except we'd had no employees on site since 8 p.m. The timestamp blinked erratically, and then, on monitor 7, I saw myself, sitting at the desk, same clothes, same posture, but frozen, like a paused video. And behind that version of me stood one of the figures, a tall black silhouette with arms that reached too far. Its face pixelated. Every time I looked away and back, it had moved closer on screen. But in real life, nothing was there. I looked down at the camera feed keyboard and saw something carved into the plastic. "Look behind you." I didn't. By night 4, I'd stopped trusting the monitors entirely. I turned off the lights in the room and just sat in silence, hoping to hear before I saw. But they didn't make noise. They were only ever seen. On the monitors, on screens, on reflections. Even my watch face began to glitch, numbers skipping, reshaping into symbols I didn't recognize. At 2:13 a.m., all monitors cut to static. Then the center screen lit up. A video file. It auto-played. The video showed me, asleep in my apartment, but the camera was inside the room, pointing down from the ceiling. I don't own a camera there. Then something climbed into frame, crawling from the dark corner of the ceiling. Something long, glitching, like its body wasn't following the rules of gravity or time, and then it looked at the camera. "Watching isn't safe anymore," it whispered. I didn't go back the next night. I quit, blocked the site's number, threw my phone in the river, bought a flip phone, switched apartments, covered every mirror, got rid of every screen in my place except this laptop. But even now, I hear static. Sometimes I catch my own face on blank monitors in gas stations, elevators, ATM screens. But it's never my reflection. It's a live feed of me, with something behind me. Sometimes I see those long arms reaching from corners I haven't looked at yet. Sometimes the screen just goes black, and I hear the whisper, "Keep watching." So if you ever work a night shift in a monitor room, and one of the feeds shows you something that isn't recorded, turn off the screen. And whatever you do, don't let it know you've seen it. And that concludes tonight's tale from the shadows. If you felt that chill, if you found yourself glancing over your shoulder while listening, then you're one of us now, a night wanderer, a watcher of the dark. So do me a favor, like this video if you enjoyed the stories, subscribe to Mr. Nocturne for more spine-tingling confessions just like these, and share this with someone who still thinks night shifts are just boring. There's more waiting in the dark. Until next time, keep your lights on, and whatever you do, don't listen back.